Have you ever thought that a simple washing machine can you turn into the scene of a divine justice, well-tempered? It may seem absurd, but it came to pass that the laundry room of his is going to make you laugh you doubt and, perhaps, to say thank you for paying your bills on time. You know that a routine Saturday morning, with the sound of the radio playing, the smell of the soap, in the air, and for the people, by folding the sheet as gossip about the novel? As it is, on that day, everything seemed to be quiet in a typical afternoon of relaxation, until the unexpected, he decided to make a short visit as a surprise. Have you ever gone through a situation in which the seemingly ordinary turns into a scene worthy of a movie? This is exactly how I begin to tell the story. Hello, my name is Wyatt Fair, and, on that day, I experienced a mix of Tom and Jerry with the exorcism of a version of car wash to the spiritual, that no one is going to forget anytime soon. What is most remarkable is that this story begins on one of those evenings where there is nothing to indicate that justice is poetic. It will come on the scene. Are you, like me, you probably know that feeling of safety and security, in routine, in quiet, and of that all of that is under your control. But, sometimes, it is that calm that your life resolves to amaze you. And that's exactly what happened right there, in the back of the washing machine with a bucket of old, in a nest of wasps, and the thief, who, without knowing it, just by entering in the biggest mess of her life. Have you ever wondered what it takes for a person to make an error as fatal as the arrogant, who's just coming back to bite her? As it is, this guy popped out of the hood to pretend that it was going to wash the clothes, and it's already there were signs that something is there, just didn't feel right. The pants with it or find another way to double to right, and the only way they fumbled the box looked more like a treasure hunt for gold at the premiere of The Adventures of Indiana Jones. And what's worse is that, at the time, the fate has decided to take the job. It was as if a button on the alert had been triggered and the entire scene to become a true comedy of errors, with a touch of the divine punishment. Imagine a man that is desperate, which is surrounded by the wasps that emerged in the training of military flying equal to helicopters. In the chaos, it is ready to be applied to the correction of heaven. It's just the way the story is brought to life with a mix of humor, suspense, and a fair amount of justice to others. Can you imagine the scene? If you can stay with me until the end, because what's coming next is going to surprise you the truth. And, of course, get ready, because this story will make you think as far as where we are going to learn a lesson. As the story unfolds, we realize that a lot of times what we do, even the things that seem small or insignificant, they carry a burden that we don't always get to see right away. It is at this point that the story reminds us all that life is made of details. The choices are silent, they shape who we are and what we are willing to learn. And even when everything seems to be confused or wrong, there is an opportunity for reflection on how we can turn these moments into something that will make us grow, make us to understand more deeply to ourselves and to the world around us. Thinking about it, it's like opening a door to a world of possibilities, where each and every experience, no matter how hard it is to be, it's a lesson in hiding. And it is precisely in this area of the discovery that we find our strength, our ability to move forward with hope and courage. You may have been in situations that seem unfair to be challenging, and even then, he was able to find some light in the path. In this connection, this doesn't mean that we are not alone in our journey, which is what makes it all come to that direction. If this is a theme that has touched something inside of you, I say to you, I invite you to share in the comments what you awaken to this discussion. Every word, every feeling that you put in there, it helps to build up a network of understanding and compassion that goes beyond what we can imagine. And if you listen to this story, did you feel that it is a part of your life? Don't leave it to like the video and subscribe to the channel. And so, together, we are building a space for the exchange, the true, and where each has a story that has the space to be heard and to each of the connection is more subtle, builds on this mission to learn more, grow more. Right now, for us to continue to deepen this topic, there's something even more important what you need to understand. I now want to go more in depth on this topic. Because, really, what we are talking about here goes far beyond that of a simple story or a lesson in the moment. It is a call to silence, so that we look within ourselves, and we may ask what is often ignored, skipped over, or to refuse, for fear of thinking. When we begin to understand that our decisions, our thoughts, and our emotions shape our reality, and it changes everything. Because all of a sudden, we realize that we are victims of fate, chance, or from the external environment, but the authors of our own storyline. And it's a revelation that may sound simple, but it is deeply transformative, because it challenges our comfort zone and into a state of greater responsibility over who we are and who we want to be. A journey of self-discovery, a lot of times, it starts with an act of courage, to admit that there's something hidden in the back of our actions, and that there is a truth hidden, which prevents us from moving forward, or, perhaps, that we are caught up in a story that was written by someone else that we don't have anymore. It acts like a key that opens the door to a freedom that has never been fully seen before. And, at the same time, it is revealed that the greatest obstacle we face ourselves, our stories, built-in, our limiting beliefs and our deepest fears. It is not a matter of blame, but of the understanding, because it is only when you look at the inside of sincerity, we can dissolve these invisible barriers that keep us from progressing. And here comes an important question. How do we really make a change in what we cannot see? How to turn a standard that is rooted in our lives, often without realizing it? The answer lies in the magic formulas or strategies that are external, but the change in mindset in how we interpret what happens around us and inside of us. Because you are, in essence, it is all a matter of perception. When we begin to see beyond what our physical eyes in the show, we realize that the answers are often hidden in the simplicity of a closer look at, to listen closer to the truth, to a much deeper connection with the one that felt it. And, when you enable this connection, we can begin to understand that it's our truth. The more authentic it is always there, waiting to be discovered, to be listened to and to be enjoyed. This understanding leads us to a kind of awakening silent, as if a curtain was slowly lifted up, revealing a scene that seemed to be dark and confusing, but in fact, it is full of possibilities. From that moment on, everything is clear. The choices we make, the people we are attracted to, and the opportunities that come up. Because, deep down, all of that is a reflection of what we believe is possible for ourselves. And, as more and more aware of these beliefs, the more we can rewrite them, set them, and in line with what we truly want in our lives. This is true freedom, understanding that we are the architects of our own destiny, even when everything seems to be spinning out of control, because it is the real that is inside of us, in how we choose to see and respond to all of our stories. For this reason, the understanding of these dynamics, we begin to realize that the universe conspires to help those who have the courage to change it. Don't change by the change, but if you turn from the inside, to find the essence of what is often forgotten in the hectic routine, on the outside pressures, or expectations, of others. This inner transformation is like a river, that, as obstacles, not the falls, but it gets around, it adapts and grows. And this process of change is our greatest strength, because it allows us to browse through pathways that before would have seemed impossible. Every decision, every action, every thought, that aligns with our deepest truth is a seed sown in the fertile soil of our soul, which, over time, blooms in achievement and peace. And then, when you realize all of this, it is clear that this has never been about perfection or a life devoid of any difficulties. In fact, it's about learning how to relate to others, with its own shortcomings, with all their ups and the downs, the wins and the losses, in a way that is more conscious. Because, in the end, we are all apprentices in a big lesson, that the greatest freedom comes from within, from in-depth understanding of who we are, and where we might go. And you are well aware of that light that fire inside of us. You have the power to turn even the blackest moments into opportunities for growth, healing, and renewal. It's as if, when you look inside, and discover an infinite source of strength and hope be able to support us in any space. And that's what it is our responsibility to take care of this as a way to strengthen that part of us that knows the truth, even when your mind tries to trick us with any questions you have, and is afraid. Because, deep down, this is the biggest challenge, to keep alive that flame, nurture it with positive thoughts, actions, aligned with a strong faith in our ability to continue to evolve. And, in doing so, we begin to understand that our reality is not something that happens to us by chance, but it's a reflection of all the things that we believe in, all those things you were thrilled. And on the basis of this understanding, it is clear that we have the key to the transformation that is going on around us, because the real change happens from the inside to the outside. I now want to go more in depth on this topic, because, when you look at it more closely, we realize that a lot of our shortcomings, what we find that we are unable to change, and are rooted in the standards, and invisible, that have built up over time, often without realizing it. These are like the roots run deep, beneath a giant tree in the beliefs, emotions, and behaviors that seem to be fixed and unchanging, but in fact they are only on the surface of a layer of depth. When it started to go down because of these layers, we are faced with the very essence of who we are, and what they too often prefer to ignore our own decisions, our own versions of ourselves that we create to protect ourselves from, or merely out of habit. And it is at this point that the consciousness has become a very powerful tool, because when you recognize these patterns, and we have the opportunity to rewrite them to turn to our roots, to change the flow of our internal history, which will inevitably influence all around us. This is a journey of self-discovery is like digging a silent, each discovery, each and every revelation, it works like a key that opens the door to a people who are not thought to be possible. It is not a change that comes from the effort of the external, of trying to force something to happen, but an inner transformation, which is reflected of course in reality. It is because it grows from the inside to the outside. We begin to understand that what really matters is not what happens out there, but it's the way we react, how we interpret, as we all do. And, in doing so, we realize that a lot of those negative feelings that seem to be so invasive, they are, in fact, echoes of the old stories that we are to repeat it, as if it were a part of us that we were not able to give up. But the beauty lies in the ability to recognize these stories and they can be rewritten, and that our emotions can be shaped, and that is, to change the vibe, change it also in the field of possibilities is upon us. It is as if we were in a kind of a stage, where the most important decisions take place, and where it can act as protagonists of a story that is different. And in this narration, to be effective, it needs to be in line with what we believe, what we feel we deserve it. This is a connection between thinking, feeling, and action is the bridge that takes us to a new reality, one that is already there, within us, waiting to be discovered and experienced. And when you realize this, it becomes clear that the biggest challenge is not to win something from outside, but rather, to undo the removal of internal barriers that create it, and that it prevents us from seeing our own light. These barriers are often invisible, but its consequences are far-reaching, affecting every decision, every relationship, and every dream that we carry out because we think we are not capable of. At that point, it becomes all the more clear. The change starts in our mind, in our intention, and our vibration. And, once you understand this, you begin to realize that we are responsible for everything that happens in our lives. That is why we are the creators of our universe inside. And then, when we assume this responsibility, we become victims of our circumstances, and we become the authors of our own story, with the freedom to rewrite her at any given moment. But, in order for this to happen to you in full, you have to have the courage. The courage to look within, to confront the things that a lot of times we would prefer to conceal or deny it, to accept that our wounds are also a part of the path, and that they can become a source of strength and wisdom. It is in the process of courage, and that we find the true essence of growth, and that this is a journey of self-discovery. Continuous discoveries are changing, the trend never stops. And then, in the next, in this way, we realize that our greatest freedom is the ability to choose how you want to feel, how we see the world, how we want it to be. Because, in the end, it all comes down to one decision, in the decision to open the doors to a new version of itself, and that it is already there, just waiting to be revealed to you. This is the first step in a journey that will lead you to a life more in tune, more authentic lives. And in that moment, everything seemed to be distant, difficult, or impossible begins to make sense, because we realize that we are the architect of your own existence. That is, when you change your energy, change all around us. I now want to go more in depth on this topic, because, in reality, the realization that we are the architects of our own lives is not just an idea or video of a sentence, and motivational. It is an internal revolution that challenges everything we have been taught about in here. When we realize that our actions, our thoughts, and our feelings are the most powerful tools we have for you, a new insight is revealed. Each and every decision, however small it may seem, it carries an immense weight in the construction of our own destiny. And, at the same time, that the liability ceases to be a burden and you shall be free. It is as though, all of a sudden, we realize that all the things that seem to be out of our control, the circumstances of the people, that happens all around us, in fact, they were reflecting on our inner energy, in the state of mind with our vibration. And this is a wake-up that mess for us to get out of the condition of the victims of the world order for us to put in the center of the stage, as well as are aware of a story that you can rewrite it at any time. When this realization comes, in our soul, and all changes from place to place, to our way of thinking and becomes a battlefield, whereas the doubt and the fear, too many times, trying to take over, but it's the strength of our pursuit of transformation poses a resistance to the silent, yet powerful. It is as if, for each thought, saboteur, there was a glimmer of hope, is a choice. And that, as simple as it may sound, this is the one that will determine the next chapter of our journey. This is the true essence of transformation. See that, even in the most difficult moments, we are a spark from a spark, which could ignite a new era. And there, in that moment of revelation, we begin to understand the universe. It is not a matter of chance, but a lot of what we carry inside of us. Each and every feeling of doubt, of fear, of insecurity, a message that the universe is sending to us, wanting us to look into the inside, and we made moderate changes to our frequency. It is not a matter of magic or luck, but the lineup. When we do, our power, our thought patterns and emotions, we create a vibe that attracts what we want, what we really have been able to develop. And, in this connection, that the same is that it allows us to look beyond the surface and to understand that everything has always been within our reach, hidden behind the layers of limiting beliefs and conditionings. On the journey, then, there would be a search for an external and an internal search. Every step we take is in the direction of self-awareness is a bridge leading us to a version that is closer to the truth than we do ourselves. And this is the truth, no matter how simple it may seem, it is transformational. We are all responsible for our own reality, it is. But we are also the raw power of creativity, renewal, and love. And when you figure that out, we started to see that change is not something that happens from the outside in, but from the inside to the outside. It's a reconnect with our inner selves, a collection of our authenticity, surrender to what is the deepest in the us. And, in the process, the hope of new life, because it was observed that, even in the darkest nights, there's a light that never shall be quenched, waiting to be kindled in our soul discretion are included. This understanding leads us to question everything we have been taught how to break down the belief that, in the trap, and to make room for a new way of life, more in tune with who you really are. Because, at the end of the day, the greatest freedom is the consciousness that we are the creators of our own story, and that there is no target is marked, only the choices you make in every moment. And when you make them with the love, courage, and authenticity, we can begin to plot a path that leads us to experience a higher, lighter weight, more full of meaning. It is a journey of self-discovery that is never-ending, because, at each step, we have discovered a new layer of potential, and a new reason for following and believing in one's ability to transform, to evolve, and flourish. I now want to go more in depth on this topic. It is at this level of understanding, we realize that everything that limits us is, in fact, an illusion created by our own beliefs and standards. When we see that illusion, it loses strength, and the universe begins to conspire in our favor in a way that seemed to be impossible. It is as if, to free the mind from these shackles and invisible, open the doors to the garden, to the realities of which were previously only existed in one's imagination. And there you have it. Everything takes on a new meaning, because we believe that we are the authors of our story, that we may rewrite the script every time that we choose to align our energy on what you really want. And that's the beauty of it all, the ability to create a life that reflects our inner selves more fully, and our light is the most pure, our love is more genuine. Because, deep down, that it is the truth that it only needs to be revealed, that we are powerful beyond what you can ever imagine, and that is the wake-up call to the reality that it is the single most important step we can take towards our freedom in God. Leave us a comment, I want to hear it. And then, when you see that deep connection with our inner selves, we can begin to understand what it seemed to be far away, out of reach, the truth has always been here, to get inside of us, waiting for the right time to be awake. It is as if our souls had kept a secret from the old one, for a fact to be forgotten in time, and right now, at this moment, she starts to whisper back, gently inviting us to look beyond the surface, beyond what we were taught to believe in. And it was in this moment of awakening that everything changes, because we see life through different eyes, and with a clarity that seemed to be impossible, it's like a light that illuminates every dark corner they dwelt, and revealing the possibilities that lay dormant in all of us. The revelation is not something that comes from one hour to another, such as one-click screenshot, but a journey of discoveries, low noise, step by step, which accumulate in the times in which we are able to feel, to think, to question. And, along the way, we began to realize that the real power is not in brute force, the external resistance, but in our ability to connect with what is most real to us. This is a call, a return to the roots, back to the silence within you. Many times, he was drowned out by the noise and expectations of collection. And, when you listen to the silence, the voice within, we can begin to understand that everything that we go out there, in the validation and recognition in life, it is only a reflection of what is already there, within us, waiting to be awakened. And to be free of these shackles and invisible, we see that life will become lighter in weight, more authentic. Every decision, every step, it turns out to be a genuine expression of who we really are, without the mask, without the mask. And it's this authenticity that it's liberating because it gives you the courage to move forward even in the face of the fear, failure, and doubt. Why on earth do we know that we are in alignment with our truth, our purpose, in that it really doesn't matter? It's as if a heavy layer of, like if you fading slowly, slowly, to reveal a light that has always been here, just waiting for permission to shine. And in this light a lot, because it radiates hope, confidence, and courage. It makes us realize that we are part of something bigger than themselves, an invisible force that sustains all of us, to guide us, even in the most difficult moments. And then, to acknowledge this connection, we can begin to see the world in a different way. It all starts to make sense of the loss and the obstacles in the case of a crisis. Since everything is an opportunity for growth, a chance for us to order, and with that universal truth that binds us together and makes us stronger. It is in this recognition that we discover the true power that we have, that no one can take away from us because it is our right. This is the essence of who we are. I now want to go more in depth on this topic. When do we begin to understand that this is an inner strength that is our true essence? It changes everything in perspective. We realize that all the answers that we seek has always been within us, and our connection with the universe, and our ability to trust our own intuition. And then, when you trust in the force, do we feel more secure to make choices, which before would seem to be daunting, because now we can see that each step is a part of a journey of self-discovery, of a continuous transformation. And this journey will never end, because it is made up of the discovery of a rebirth in constant evolution, which is, in fact, the purest expression of our being. And, in the process, we have also learned to appreciate how vulnerable we are, because it is the place where our true power is. When we allow ourselves to feel all there is to feel, without judgment, without repression, and open up the space for true freedom, the freedom that comes from within and is not dependent on external circumstances. It's the freedom to be who you really are regardless of what other people think, what they say, or what they expect of us. And, in doing so, we realize that the life will become more colorful, more vibrant, because we are living in an authentic purpose, and with self-love. And that is the greatest revolution that we can do for ourselves, to awaken to our truth and allow it to be our guiding light, brightening up each and every step of this amazing journey to make you live the truth. He comments that I needed to hear that today. And in that moment, as the silence settles around you, a feeling of release starts to spread out from the inside, as if a heavy curtain was slowly being lifted up. The fact that he was always there, hidden beneath the layers of doubt, fear, and expectations of the outside, is starting to emerge, with a quiet strength, but a huge, showing that the real power lies in our ability to listen, to understand, and to accept. It's like finding a treasure that had always been hidden away, just waiting for the right moment to be revealed. And this time it is right now, when you have decided to look into it, without fear, without judgment, and only the courage of those who know what a transformation is, in essence, based on the authenticity of who we are, in fact. To understand this, we can begin to understand what all the fighting, all in the quest for the validation, recognition, and often it is an attempt to fill a void that, in fact, can only be completed on your own. This is a journey of self-discovery, is a kind of catching up with who we really are, and a return to the roots of our being, where everything comes together, where your soul will find rest. And when we can connect you with the truth, we realize that life is no longer a constant battle, and you will become a dance and a smooth, where every move is guided by my intuition and by the desire to live a full and true. But this awakening did not happen all at one time or another. It's not a change that happens by chance. It is a daily choice. A decision is to look beyond the surface, to question all the things that we were taught as absolute truth. It is a process of deconstruction, to release, to where we have to let go of the expectations and the trap, and embrace our uniqueness, with love and compassion. Because, deep down, that it is the greatest courage of, to accept that we are flawed, we have our own vulnerability, and that's all good. You make a mistake, learn from, and start over as many times as you need. This is the true power that comes from self-knowledge and the freedom to be who we truly are, without masks, without fear of being judged. And, in doing so, we begin to see the world in a different way. Each and every detail that takes on a new meaning, as each game goes on to be an opportunity for growth, and each is a challenge that turns into a ladder that leads to the top, closer to the core. Life is no longer a struggle against time, against the circumstances, and against the expectations of others, and it turns out to be a celebration of the present moment, an opportunity to be happy just by existing. This is a space of authenticity, which we find true peace, one that doesn't depend on external factors, but it is born from within, out of a deep connection with our inner selves. And while all this is happening, a sense of gratitude into your heart, because you realize that this whole journey, no matter how challenging that might be, it's worth every step, every tear shed, every question is provided. Because, in the end, all that really matters is our evolution, and of the love you cultivate for yourself, and the courage to keep on going even when everything seems to be up in the air. It is your courage that makes us unique. What makes us unique? What makes us protagonists of our own stories? And then, when we look back, we see that for all the difficulties that have served to strengthen us, to teach us how to make the most of what really matters to you, our truth, our brilliance, our very essence. I now want to go more in depth on this topic. Because, when you think about all of this, we realize that the true liberation that is at the choice to live according to the truth, even if it means walking through unknown paths, or to experience the opinions to the contrary. It is an act of radical love for self, respect for one's soul. It doesn't accept to be trapped by the conventions and expectations of external stakeholders. And, to the extent that it is freed from these shackles, we have discovered a world of possibilities, and a life that lives and breathes in harmony with the heart, a feeling of fullness that no one can take away from us. And this is a major victory for the freedom to be who we really are, without reservation, without fear, and with all the strength that is within us, just waiting for the time to flourish. And, in the process, we have learned that the transformation is not a final destination but a continuous journey, with a constant evolution that challenges you to go above and beyond what we thought possible. Every step you take, every decision, conscious of every moment of inner silence, is a great opportunity to reaffirm who we are, and to strengthen our connection to our deeper purpose. It's as if despotassimos to a higher dimension of life where your choices will reflect who you truly are, without masks and illusions. And, in doing so, we realize that our greatest strength lies in your authenticity, and the courage to show the world our true nature, the one that never leaves you, even in the most difficult days. So, if we look within, we realize that it is all a matter of courage, faith in yourself, believe that you are deserving of a life full of love and peace. Because, at heart, a revolution happens when we free ourselves from the shackles that we have created in our minds, when we stop seeking external validation in order to validate the sight. This freedom is a gift which only we can give to ourselves, and it changes us from the inside out, creating a whole new outlook on life. The more you take, the more the real, the more that is aligned with your purpose. And when we live that truth, and everything around us starts to change because of the energy that we send out is the same as that which we have received the return. And so, the journey becomes a dance of discovery, of self-discovery, self-love, where every step brings us closer to who we truly are. And in that moment of reflection, I want you to feel it all in your heart, as a reminder of the essence. It is a unique and valuable, and that is your truth. It deserves to be listened to, experienced, and celebrated. Because, at the end of the day, this is the greatest freedom we can win, to be ourselves, to live with authenticity, and to allow our light to shine in the sun. And in this light, when illuminated, light is not the only way, but it's also the way of those who are next to us, inspired with a great message of self-awareness, courage, and love. And because of that, I want to invite you to think about all of this, to let those words echo within you, because this is the message that came at just the right time. It can make all the difference to your journey of a lifetime. He comments that I've always felt that this was it for me. And while its light will grow within us, we begin to realize that it's not just a spark in passing, but it is a lamp that has the power to change all of our lives. It's like, all of a sudden, the layers of uncertainty, in doubt, in fear that the us is involved, as a hollow in the heavy start to break down slowly, revealing a heart that is more honest and strong. And, in the process, our understanding of the world around you will also change. Those dreams seem far away, the targets before it seem to be unreachable, they gain a whole new perspective, to understand that it is only in connection with that light has been able to provide. It is as if, when we connect with our deepest truth, you could see yet below the surface, in addition to the constraints that we have imposed, or that the world has laid upon us. And then it all starts to make sense, in a way that's more subtle, more genuine. Life is no longer a constant battle, and you will become a voyage of discovery, of learning, in a quiet, little by little, they will in shaping who we are, in fact. And in this transformation, as it often happens in such a natural you don't even realize it, until the day in which we look back and see how far we have progressed as far as we let go of the chains before they seem to be unbreakable. It is at this point, it is clear that the real power lies in the courage to be authentic, to show you are vulnerable and open to a new one. Because, deep down, that light, that fire is an expression of one's own potential and an opportunity for us to reconnect with the things that we've always been, but for some reason, we had forgotten about. And to recognize the essence, we can begin to understand that change is not something that is far, far away, but it's something that is born from within, and from a decision to a daily look within, to embrace our imperfections, and in turn each and every stone on the lower step. Every doubt, every fear, every tear shed along the way, it's an essential part of this journey, because these are the times that make us stronger, it makes us more human, more compassionate. And, in the process, we realize that we are not alone in this quest for self-knowledge. This is the bridge that connects the soul that unites the stories, and we do understand that real progress happens when we learn to be kind and gentle with ourselves. Because, in the end, All that matters is the courage to continue moving forward even when the path seems too difficult for you, because this is the strength that comes from within. It is able to transform into any of the darkness into the light. And it is this light that, once lit, never turns off. It remains as a constant reminder of what we are capable of, all of the things that we believe, that our greatest strength is our faith in ourselves, in our ability to start over and do something different. And so, we understand that this is a journey of discovery, never ends. It reinvents itself every day, and in every step, we are invited to immerse themselves more deeply in our lives, to explore new possibilities and to accept who we really are, without fear, without a mask. Because, in the end, it all comes down to one choice: to keep on searching, keep on learning, keep on being the best version of yourself. And, along the way, we are connected with the fact that it is simple, but at the same time is powerful. That's the real wake-up is born from within, and that is to shine in this light. We can light is not the only way, but it's also the one of those that crossed our road, creating a stream of light that never goes out. I now want to go more in depth on this subject, because, as we reflect on this journey, we have realized that it is made up of moments, of choices, of the small actions that, taken together, they form a silent revolution in our hearts and minds. And this is a revolution. A lot of times it happens in those moments of silence, when we hear our own voice, when we allow ourselves to feel without judgment, and when we believe that the most important thing is not what the world expects of us, but what we really want. It is this connection that we find the true freedom that comes from within, and that frees us from the shackles of expectation, and of the masks that we wear to fit in with the standards, which often does not make sense to those who are of the truth. And this is freedom, this is authenticity. It is the gift of a transformation that goes beyond just the surface. It penetrates deep in our core, and we will tell you how much we are able to create a life aligned with our true selves. Each and every decision we take, every step we take in that way, it's a good opportunity to reaffirm who we are, and to reaffirm our connection with this light to the interior. And, in doing so, we have learned that the most important thing is not to get somewhere, but to enjoy the journey, to cherish each and every discovery and each of the learning experience that it provides. Because, deep down, this day is a celebration of one's own potential, as a tribute to the courage to be who you really are. And then, when you look at this process, we realize that the greatest gift we can give ourselves is the permission to be ourselves. We allow ourselves to shine, and not be afraid, for you to recognize that this is the light that we have is unique and irreplaceable. Because, just like the darkest night uncovers the stars are bright, and our difficulties and challenges, also to show the strength and beauty of which there is in all of us. And then, how much more will we allow that inner light to shine, the more we inspire those around us, creating an invisible web of hope, strength, courage, and love. And this is where we believe that true transformation is a matter of choice, of decision, of opening the heart, to rely on our own strength, and to believe that anything is possible when we align our actions with what is most real to us. Each step in this direction, it is a reaffirmation of what we are capable of, rewriting our history to transform our pain into wisdom, and to make room for a life that is more fulfilling and genuine. Because, in the end, it's all the things that we look out there, it only makes sense when we look inside, and found out that all we have is, in fact, on the inside, just waiting to be awakened. And when you make that connection, we realize that our true essence, it's a never-ending source of light, love, and power. And it is this source that, once accessed, you will never run out, because it is an integral part of our life, a fire that never shall be quenched, even in the most difficult moments. So, may we always remember that our greatest strength lies in the courage to be yourself, in order to explore in this light that we carry, and on the understanding that, with it, you can light up the world around us, starting with ourselves. Because when we allow ourselves to be who we are, in fact, everything is changed, everything gets the sense, and it all makes for a beautiful expression of our infinite potential. He comments that I've always felt that this was it for me. And to the degree that this understanding deepens, we see that true freedom is born from within, out of the decision to be silent, almost in a whisper to the soul, to do away with the masks and the paper it is often in the trap. It is as if, for a moment, you could look in and see beyond the surface, beyond the opinions of others, in addition to all of the limitations that we have placed at an early age. At that moment, it all seems to be to strip off the weight of the heart, which have often been silenced by doubts and fears, and begin to pulse with a new one, with a courage that comes from the recognition of our true value. And there you have it. It becomes clear that each and every step of authenticity, this is a kind of a silent revolution, a breakup with a standard that we hold an open call for people to break free from the chains unseen, that keep us from being who we really are. This is freedom. This is authenticity. It's like a seed that, when planted, gently, he begins to cultivate an inner strength, capable of transforming everything around us. And this transformation is not only changing what we do or how we act, but a change of perception, a relook at what we have on ourselves. When we allow ourselves to see all of our experiences, we have realized that all the things that seem so very far away, so unreachable, the truth has always been here. They get inside us, just waiting for the right moment to bloom. And it will lead you to a deep connection with something greater, harmony with our soul, reminding us of who we are, infinite in number, have been able to create, to rebuild, to start over again as many times as you need. It's as if, once you understand this truth, and we begin to walk more lightly on the planet, with the purpose renewed, even in the face of difficulties, and to keep it assured that every single challenge is an opportunity for growth. In this process, we have realized that all things that once seemed so hard, so far away, now it becomes a matter of choice, of decision-making in a conscious following of the way of getting to know yourself, to embrace our imperfections, as well as our virtues, with an equal amount of love. And when you do that, you start to realize that the universe conspires in favor of the one who knows the truth, and that the door opens in a way that seemed to be impossible, and that happiness actually comes from a connection to the heartfelt, with our lives. The journey of self-discovery, first and foremost, a call to each and every one of us will be reunited with your own shine, your unique light, and use that light to illuminate the way for those who are on our side. Because, deep down, that it is the greatest gift that we can offer you, the authenticity of which is the inspiration, the courage that he has been, and the faith that we can make a difference just by being who you really are. And, when you think about all of this, we are led to think more deeply is that, at some point you stop listening to that voice inside, that's true, that beats inside of us. You will be letting the noise of the world, we move away from our lives? This is a question that is worthy of attention, because a lot of times, we forget that it is the connection, the more powerful it is what we have with ourselves and others. And when you lose that connection, everything seems to be getting harder, heavier, as if we were walking with a backpack full of doubts and insecurities. But the good news is that this connection can be restored at any time. You just need a gesture, and a decision is an act of courage, to find out what really matters to you. And, in doing so, it all starts to make sense, in a way that seemed to be out of reach. So, every day is a new opportunity to get closer to the truth, and you can afford more, to take on any more. Because, deep down, this is a journey of self-discovery, is a story of love, life, and the opportunity to realize that we are so much more than the circumstances that surround us. We are the only source of light, which can transform into any of the darkness into the brightness. And then, when you realize that the world around us is also changing, because we look beyond what your eyes can see, we can see it with your heart, and then it all becomes more clear, more real, more for us. I now want to go more in depth on this subject in this quest for authenticity and connection with our inner selves. It is, in fact, a day of catching up with all that is most sacred in all of us. It is an invitation to shed the layers of fear of judgment and of the expectations of others so that we can finally come to know one another in a way more pure, more true. And it is this discovery that has the power to liberate not only our souls, but also to influence everything around us, creating a stream of light that stretches beyond what we can imagine. When we let go of the need to please, to be perfect, to fit into a mold of pre-established, we can begin to live in a way that is more authentic, more in tune with who you really are. And then, in the alignment, we will find peace, strength, and courage. Because, when you accept, we no longer have any hostages in the external reviews for, and we become the authors of our own story. This is freedom. This is authenticity. It is a gift we can give ourselves every day, a decision that has made all the difference in the quality of your life. And when you understand it, too many times we ask ourselves, why did it took so much to make sense of that fact? Why do we let fear and insecurity, we turn away from our natural glow? Maybe it's because, deep down, we have a natural resistance to that which is different, what is unknown. But the real courage is, precisely, that if you allow yourself to be who you are, even if that means defying the standards, face the trials, and giving up the comfort that the majority of the time on hold. This is the essence of the process of evolution, to understand that authenticity is not a luxury, but a fundamental need to live in the fullness. And then, when we give ourselves to that truth, we see that everything in our life starts to fit into a more harmonious, more in line with our commitment deeper. And to this day, that it often seems as a challenging one, it is, in fact, is an opportunity for us to reconnect with that which is most sacred to us, our true self. Our essence is pure, and the potential is infinite. This is the key that unlocks the door to life, the more light, the more mindful and happy, because at the end of the day, it all comes down to one decision: to trust in one's own light. You have to trust that we are able to light up the world with your truth. And while such an understanding does not stand up completely, you walk, learn to recognize the signs, listening to the silence, it reveals everything you need to know. Because, quite often, the answers are right there, in the silence, in the quiet of our hearts, waiting for us to have the courage to listen to them. And it is this courage, this is the decision to follow this inner voice, this is the one that turns it all the way. This is what has made us realize that we are not alone, that we are a part of a world that conspires to help those who know the truth. And, by understanding this connection, it all gets a whole new dimension, a new perspective, a new chance at life with authenticity and purpose. Because, deep down, that it is the greatest gift we can give ourselves, to be loyal to the core, followed by the call that comes from within, and, with courage, with love, and to be sure that this is the truth, more in depth. And, so, we went on, with an open heart, knowing that every step forward in that journey, it is an expression of our infinite potential. I now want to go more in depth on this topic. As it is, we sometimes find yourself thinking that life is kind of a giant mirror, a place where everything that we designed it back to us in some other way. And, in this phase, we will have the opportunity to see more clearly what we really are, what you are hiding, or we deny it, many times out of fear or for the sake of convenience. True courage is taking those who are of the truth, even if it means letting go of the masks, the expectations are beyond the control of, a life that appears safe, but is that deep down inside, it's empty. Because that's the essence of it is not something you will find out that she is the spark that beats within, waiting to be recognized, nurtured, brought to the fore. And when you start to realize that the spark, everything changes. Suddenly, what seemed to be a difficult, impossible even, then, if you turn out to be a chance of freedom, a connection with our true self, what you really doesn't matter. And it's this journey of self-discovery we find that the fear of it, many times, it is an eyeshadow that is born out of ignorance. The ignorance of who we are, our strength, our dreams, more of the deep. The shadow looks like a giant, but in fact it is made of deception, of the stories that we tell ourselves in order to avoid that. It's uncomfortable, but that, in essence, prevents us from growing. When you look at the inside honest with ourselves, we realize that our limit is not in the outside world, but the only thing that kept inside, and the limiting beliefs that we have created in the course of a lifetime, is often inherited or imposed upon them by the one who created us. And then, when faced with this kind of faith, and a sense of freedom fills the heart up, because you realize that everything seemed to be in a prison, it was, in fact, an illusion created by our own mind. Think about it. Everything is like opening a window into a new perspective, a broader, closer to the truth. It is as though, all of a sudden, the horizon expanded, and we see him the possibilities that were previously hidden in the fog of the fear and the doubt. Each and every decision we take, every step we take in the direction of authenticity is a statement that is quiet, that you're willing to change, to leave behind what no longer serves us, in what we hold on to the past, the pain, and insecurity. Because, deep down, the real power lies in the courage to be who we really are, so to follow our hearts, even when everything around you tries to convince us of the contrary. And courage is the light that illuminates the path of an internal compass that never leaves us, even in the blackest moments. To understand this, we understand that the journey is not a straight line, but the spiral of evolution. Every challenge, every fall, every time a new discovery is an opportunity to learn, to deepen in our lives. And, at the same time, we've realized that we are not alone in this process. There is a power, a force that is invisible, that supports us, that pushes us to go forward, to have confidence in our deeper truth. It is the love that we feel for ourselves. We are sure that we are more than our limitations, most of our questions. And in this recognition gives rise to a new hope, and assure that all makes sense, even when everything seems to be messy or difficult. Because the truth is that, deep down, we are constantly on the search for a connection to yourself, to inner peace, one purpose of which goes beyond words, beyond everything. And then, when you stop to think about all of this, we realize that the greatest gift that you can give us, it's just the courage to be true to our inner selves, and to listen to what your heart whispered in the silence, following the intuition that guides us even when the world tries to convince us of the contrary. This is our revolution. Our most important win is to find that when you align with who you are, in fact, everything around us becomes. Because you are, in essence, that which we seek, the outside is only a reflection of what already exists within us all. And, by acknowledging this fact, we realize that freedom is not something that comes out of it. It is an achievement of internal decision-making every day to honor who you are, and live with authenticity, love, and our very own journey, with all of its imperfections, and light. I now want to go more in depth on this issue. Because if you really have to accept that the authenticity is on the way, we realize that everything that keeps us from living the truth is, in fact, have an internal resistance, with a strength born out of a fear of losing control, of being judged, of not being accepted. And that strength sometimes manifests itself as a constant struggle between the desire for freedom and the bonds we create within our own minds. But, at the same time, this conflict is an opportunity for auto-confronto, to understand that everything that limits us, it's just an illusion that can be overcome with a simple act of courage to decide on the release. Because, deep down, no one can hold you to the truth, except to ourselves. And it is freeing, as it shows that the power of change, of turning, of being who you are, and you are always in our hands. When we begin to see the truth, it's a lighter. Life is no longer a constant battle against the outside world, to make a journey to inner discovery, the connection to our deepest core. And, in this connection, it is a never-failing source of strength, a source of peace that is not dependent on external circumstances, but for sure the inside that we are on the right path, even though it is full of curves, ups, and downs. Because you are, in essence, we are in a constant state of evolution in the pursuit of balance, alignment, and self-love. And this is, in fact, it's a journey of self-discovery, hospitality, and respect for all that we are and all that we can still make it. For this reason, there is an invitation for us to look into it with more sincerity than to challenge the limiting beliefs that embrace our imperfections as part of the process of growing up. Because, in doing so, we opened up the space so that the truth of the purest flower, that it's the authenticity that is our motto and stronger. And thus, we will be building a life more in tune, more real, more meaningful. A life where every decision, every action, every word, is an expression of our essence is genuine. Because, at the end of the day, this is the greatest gift that you can give to the world, to be true to ourselves, with courage, with love, and to be sure that this is the truth, more in depth. If you've come this far, it's because that's the message he spoke to you in some way. Few people have been able to maintain that pace, and this connection, to the end. And if you're here, it's certainly something to this story touched on in some corner of his heart. He comments that I'm with you till the end of love, because they recognize the presence of this effort. It has made all the difference in your journey. Enjoy and subscribe to the channel, so that we can be together in this journey of reflection, growth, and discovery. Every video is an opportunity to deepen understanding, strengthen the search for authenticity that it makes sense for us. And, if this is a conversation you have added something, it stops and the like, because it will help to spread this message. Reach out to those who also need to hear that it all starts with the courage to be who you really are. And if you want to continue to explore this theme, you click on the video side by side. We still have a lot to talk about in this journey of self-discovery and transformation. Don't stop there, because this is a journey that is made up of steps, going from small discoveries that are going to be adding in and taking us closer and closer to our true nature. It is on me, because the next chapter is coming up, and I'm pretty sure it's going to bring you more insights and inspiration to follow the firm on this journey. And, remember, that the message has stayed with me until the very end, and I hope that you also have been to you. Because, deep down, that connection that we've created here is that it really doesn't matter. So, until the next video, and this journey will continue to take, a true and full of hope.